One of the biggest factors of actually doing the event here at Caerphilly was to get people from the local community involved and to actually come and visit the site and just to sort of reinforce how important this monument is and how great it is.
So what we were looking to do was to offer evening entertainment and new activities to try and give a more unique and cultural experience of Wales. And what we wanted to achieve was this magical experience the visitors could really appreciate and enjoy the history without just reading from a textbook or from a panel.
So for me, the idea of interpreting the history of the castle through using comic images based on historical paintings, based on historical drawings, was absolutely perfect.
My role was to research and write the story of Caerphilly Castle, and then from that script I developed a storyboard, which was a lot of fun because I had to find all the images that went with it. And also it was a bit of a challenge because you're not working with one screen, you're working with two, because you had two sides of the castle walls.
The story in itself was developed in a way that we had no idea what the end product was going to be. That's all we knew, was that we wanted to portray the history of the castle through images, through voiceovers and through beautiful pictures that had been throughout the history of the castle and over the 4 eras.
So my task was to sort of take almost 1,000 years of history and condense it down into about 20 minutes, which is a pretty big task. But I started just by researching the general history, trying to figure out the most important figures and events of the castle's past. I broke it down into 5 acts. They all had their most important event, which I thought was most important to the castle, but also would be most interesting to the audience that was watching it.
I always say that my job is telling stories in pictures, whether that's doing storyboards for a film, whether that's drawing comic strips, whether it's doing little flip books with a character running along bouncing a ball. Whatever I do, and whether it's a single illustration, whether it's a series of illustrations, it's telling a story in pictures. This was telling the history of Caerphilly Castle on the walls of Caerphilly Castle, done as a comic strip. And it was fantastic because it got across all the essentials, it got across the history of the piece, the characters of the piece, the feel of the times, and it did it marvellously.
We actually managed to tell that story, and I think there were parts of that story that perhaps people have forgotten about, for instance about the prison, and that came across in the film.
Some of the favourite bits of mine of the story probably revolve around Hugh Despenser, because he was just such a character. Him and Edward, I think, were very interesting, and I think that's sort of a unique element to Caerphilly.
I think the first time I actually saw the film, I was absolutely gobsmacked. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. At one point, they blow the Inner East Gatehouse up, it falls down, and it does actually fall down and disappear, but it's still there. And even after the umpteenth time of seeing the film, and I was just so proud of what we actually put on.
Even for us working on the project, we had no idea what it was going to look like. And the first night that it was shown, it was absolutely amazing. The experience was fantastic. I have never seen and never learned so much about the history of the castle until I watched that being shown on the walls. The atmosphere was incredible.
Combining digital media with heritage or historic buildings or the past in general, I think is a great way to get a wider audience to come in. Everyone's used to watching films, they love films. Something like Illuminata, we'll put it on an ancient building, and it adds this sort of layer, this depth to it that you wouldn't get if you're watching it just on a plain screen. I think you're sort of drawing people into that history in a totally different and new way, and I think that's totally a worthwhile endeavour and experience.
The actual performance I was blown away with. It brought the castle walls to life, literally. The size of the canvas that you had to work with was just so large, and it was better than any multiplex cinema event that you could possibly want to go and see.
I think the event created a huge buzz. I mean, as soon as you came in through the gates at the front, there were loads of people sort of milling around and drinking a bit of mead, chatting, laughing. It was, I guess, a throwback to what castle life must have been like when it was populated. I think people were really, really interested and sort of absorbed in it. It really sort of engaged with people. It was fantastic. It was awesome.
It's quite a unique experience in the fact that you're actually sitting down and you're actually looking up, and there's fighting and battles and there's sound all coming around you. It really feels alive and how it would be when it was first built.
We also wanted to offer visitors a unique experience by offering medieval feasts within the Great Hall, which provided entertainment and banquets and music. And that again has opened up a new opportunity for us, that we can start bringing these banquets in on a regular basis and offering a new experience whilst at the site.
It was nice to sort of be able to sit in and enjoy it and use it as a space it was used as, to be able to eat and to chat and to just sort of really enjoy yourself in the Great Hall. It was a pretty special experience.
This was the first time I got to see my work in a public place, and it was fantastic because it was the first time my work has been part of a piece of history in a place of history.
I do feel like it's sort of my castle in a way, because I had to dig up all its history and then give it to the people, the public, to make it sort of their castle in a way. It was really special for me, I guess, because where I come from, we don't have castles, and having my own sort of castle in a way, it was really, really special.
Giving us the understanding of why the castle here does give you a feeling of where you've come from medieval fortress town to a market town, and in a current climate where we've got struggling traders, still a market town, and perhaps now with more investment and more activities, becoming a more thriving and vibrant place.
As soon as the film finished, I had people come up to me and saying how wonderful it was, how much pride it gave them to see the castle in a way that they've never seen it before. And for me, it built links to the community as well. They will come in now and start chatting to me. And we know first name terms now, which is before they were just somebody who'd walk past the castle. Now I consider them as friends and friends of the castle.
It made me realise you can actually make the history of a place vital and immediate to the people that are coming to see it. Like I say, comics is the oldest form of storytelling. It's great to be doing it in the most modern way possible.
I think what we've learned is that especially the schools that were involved, they've now taken much more pride in the history and how they sit within the history of the castle. The castle to them isn't just a building anymore, it's somewhere that they can go and appreciate and enjoy.
It's nice to have an event which is kind of just solely for the castle and its history. It's really nice, really nice.
History not only has to be informative, but has to be fun, and I think Philly is so much fun, and I love it to bits.